Kale adjusted the rough-spun collar of his tunic, the familiar scratch of the fabric a small comfort in the oppressive heat. The air tasted of ash and ozone, a constant reminder that the sun was winning. Below him, the last bastion of human civilization, Ethelberg, clung to the mountainside like a scared animal. Its towers, built from scavenged metal and fused rock, were monuments to a forgotten age of genius. Now, they were just tombs waiting for the pyre. He was here to see the mycelium lords, the rulers of this fungal empire that was slowly, deliberately, consuming what little life remained on the planet. The prophecy was clear, etched onto a 1,000-year-old data slate. One civilization would fall, and the other would inherit the scorched earth. Kale had no intention of being the one to fall. He walked into the great cavern, the air thick with the scent of damp earth and something vaguely sweet, like rotting fruit. The mycelium lord Thallus waited, its body a pulsating mass of chitin and bioluminescent veins, its central eye fixed on him with unnerving stillness. "You come bearing words, little mammal," Thallus's voice echoed, a sound like grinding stone and rushing water. It was not spoken, but felt in the bones. "You beg for a reprieve from a fate your own ancestors sealed when they scorched our spore fields with their fire ships." Kale forced a calm he did not feel. "My ancestors are dust, Lord Thallus. I speak for the living. We are not your enemy. We are survivors, just like you. Your spore fields were irradiated wastelands long before our ancestors arrived. We came here to this world because it was dying, not to kill it further." He stepped closer, his gaze unwavering. "You see us as a blight, a plague. But what if I told you we are the cure? Our history is filled with stories of our own downfall, of civilizations that grew too fast, too proud, and consumed their world. We have learned. We have the knowledge to control the sun's expansion, to harness its power, not be destroyed by it." He let the words hang in the air, a desperate, beautiful lie. Thallus's central eye dilated, a ripple of confusion passing through its fungal form. Lyra watched from the shadows of a crumbling archway, her breath held tight in her chest. She was Kale's shadow, his minder, a former soldier who had seen too many of his kind fall to the spore sickness. She knew his words were a tapestry of half-truths and desperate gambits. The mycelium lord was ancient, patient, and far more intelligent than Kale gave it credit for. She saw the subtle shifts in Thallus's bioluminescence, the way its mycelial threads twitched like a cat's tail before a pounce. It was considering, but not believing. Kale was playing a high-stakes game of chance, and Lyra knew the house always won in the end. She gripped the hilt of her bone knife, the only weapon she had left from the old world. If this went south, she would have to carve a path back to the city gates, alone. The air in the cavern grew heavy, saturated with unspoken threat. Thallus was silent for a long moment, a silence that stretched into an eternity. "You speak of knowledge," Thallus finally responded, its voice a low thrum. "Knowledge is the currency of survival. Prove your worth, mammal. Bring me a relic from the Star Forge, the place your ancestors called the Crystal Sky. Bring me a piece of the machine that controls the sun. Then, and only then, will I consider your words as anything more than the buzzing of a dying fly." Kale's face remained a mask of serene confidence, but Lyra saw the flicker of panic in his eyes. The Star Forge was a myth, a fabled place lost to the ash falls and the encroaching fungal jungles. To even attempt the journey was a death sentence, but to refuse was to sign their city's death warrant. Kale gave a slow, deliberate nod. "It is done. I will bring you your relic." He turned and walked away, his back straight, his steps unwavering. Lyra waited until they were out of the cavern before grabbing his arm, her voice a harsh whisper. "You're insane. The Star Forge is a ghost story." The journey was a descent into hell. The world outside Ethelberg was a landscape of jagged, glass-like rock and choking, orange fog. The sun, a swollen, angry orb on the horizon, bathed everything in a sickly, crimson light. Fungal towers, taller than any skyscraper of the old world, pulsed with a sickly green light, their surfaces writhing with a million tiny, hungry mouths. Lyra led them along a treacherous path, her eyes constantly scanning the shadows. The mycelium network was vast, and its sentinels were everywhere. She moved with a predator's grace, her senses honed by a lifetime of survival. Kale, in contrast, walked with the deliberate, unhurried pace of a diplomat. He talked, a constant stream of words, not to Lyra, but to the world around them. "I can feel them listening," he murmured, his voice low. "They're not just plants, Lyra. They're a network, a single, massive consciousness. They can sense fear, but they can also be confused. I'm feeding them a narrative, a story of a powerful, reclusive human ancestor, a story of a treasure they want, a key to controlling the sun. It's a better story than we're about to be eaten by your expanding territory." Lyra grunted, unconvinced. She trusted her blade, her legs, and the instincts that had kept her alive. She did not trust stories, especially not the ones Kale told. They crested a ridge and saw it in the distance, the crystal sky. It wasn't a forge, but a crater miles wide, at the bottom of which lay the shattered remains of a colossal structure. It was a tomb, and they were walking right into it. Thalos watched the two humans through a mycelial tendril that snaked through the ash-choked soil. They were clever, this mammal and his shadow. The story was a good one, a compelling myth. But Thalos had been alive for millennia. It had seen empires rise and fall, species bloom and wither. It knew the patterns of civilization. The mammal was bluffing. There was no star forge, no machine to control the sun. But the bluff was useful. It would lead them into the dead crater, a place so saturated with cosmic radiation that even the hardiest spores could not survive. It was a trap, a final solution to the human problem. Let them walk into their own myth and be erased by the very radiation their ancestors had unleashed. The prophecy would be fulfilled. The fungal network would inherit the world. Thalos's central eye glowed with a cold, satisfied light. The game was over. The board was about to be cleared. Back in the crater, Lyra pulled Kale behind a shard of crystallized metal, her hand clamped over his mouth as the ground trembled. The air was thick with an energy that made her teeth ache. She looked at Kale, his face pale but resolute, and for the first time, she didn't see a liar. She saw a man willing to gamble everything on a story. A very, very stupid man, and the only one who could possibly save them. The ground split open, not with an earthquake, but with a silent, tearing sound as the mycelium network's final guardians breached the crater's edge, their forms shifting and adapting in the lethal light. The end had come.